What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you are all having a wonderful day. I'm just going to do a quick update video to Holy Paladin. I've done a couple of videos now talking about like a melee build or a ranged build, kind of comparing the two of them, swapping out things like Avenging Crusader for things like Inflorescence, focusing a lot more on Holy Light. I've talked a lot about that stuff in other videos. What I really want to just look at today really quickly is Lightsmith Holy Paladin. A lot of Holy Paladin is sort of been getting like a bad rap, I think, on the beta right now. And I think it's probably because people don't quite understand how to use the Holy Armaments from Lightsmith to really get the most damage and healing, but especially damage. Because a lot of times people are like judging healers based on the damage that they can deal. Sort of the higher up, I'd say like elitist type people. And I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying this is typically how healers get ranked in upcoming expansions. When we're on the beta, when we're looking to the future, a lot of times people are like, well, how much damage does it do? My priest is doing 3 times the damage. My Mistweaver monk can just spin with Phaline or Jadefire Stomp and do 3 times the damage of a Holy Paladin. And so I think Lightsmith now actually fixes that, and I'm going to show you how. There was a recent change on the last reset about a week ago now, and it changed the text of what this says. Let's read the bottom paragraph, okay? Your spells and abilities have a chance to deal 33,000 additional holy damage or healing to nearby targets. That's what the weapons now do. So the weapons used to only do single target damage. Now they can do AoE damage and AoE healing. If you don't know, whenever you press Avenging Crusader or whenever you press regular wings, Avenging Wrath, you will summon an additional sacred weapon sword. He's like a super sword, okay? And he not only does damage and healing, but he copies whatever abilities you're doing, which can do more damage or more healing, depending on what you're doing, right? So the fact that they do AoE damage now is really critical to what I'm going to talk about here in terms of how strong I think Lightsmith has become just in this last week, honestly, because I was blown away by some of the numbers that I was seeing. And I think it's actually like reasonable and fair. So we're going to go through that. I was doing a melee build. I was doing Avenging Crusader, which I think is probably the best way to play Holy Paladin now. And the biggest part about Avenging Crusader is that it is a 1-minute cooldown, and that lets us get this big Blessing of the Forge sacred weapon out more often, okay? Another really important talent here is this choice node that I picked, which was your regular spells and abilities just have a chance to summon a armament, which means you can get additional swords thrown out to your allies. And here's the most important part, and I'm going to start with the dungeon footage here. When you throw out your sword is really important now. This is like a skill check now, actually. It's something that you have to get good at, okay? If you throw a sword at one of your DPS players right before he's about to do his huge DPS cooldown, you will be massively rewarded. If you're just randomly throwing out swords willy-nilly, it doesn't really matter. It's like power infusion now. If you throw your sword when the person has their cooldowns lined up, it'll equal way more damage than if you didn't. So right here, I end up throwing a sword onto my mage friend, and it ends up giving us a ridiculous amount of damage. So you can see he's got a little sword icon. Look at all the numbers that's popping up. He's throwing arcane missiles into these mobs right now, and watch the numbers pop up on the screen. Just gonna go ding ding ding. See the missiles going ding 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 ding. What is happening right now? I'm so confused. Look at my damage right now. I'm top of the meters. Now, I don't know that this is necessarily gonna stay like this. I feel like I'm just being rewarded for playing well, and that's why I think this is actually really, really good design. Yes, it's not good design for healers to be out DPSing DPS. That is true, okay? However, this is a particular moment where I buffed a particular one of my DPS members, and it resulted in a lot of damage. So it's like I lined it up properly, I picked the right person, I threw a sword at them, and then I got rewarded for playing well. That's what it felt like happened. Like, that's what I feel like is happening here. On this next pack, I'm doing a reasonable amount of damage for having sent out swords. I think I gave it to the Warlock this time, and there's one on myself. Anytime you give a sword to somebody else, you get a sword as well. So you're kind of double dipping. The other really cool thing about this is that they put the hooks into details correctly this time. So like a week ago when I tested this, if I was to send out a sword onto the mage, the damage that the sword did would count towards the mage, not count towards me. So again, it would lower my overall damage. So now it doesn't work like that. If you send swords to anybody, that counts as your damage, which it should, because it's your sacred weapon that you're giving to them, right? So yeah, this is kind of like Ashen Hallow. I think like this is really interesting to me now, and I think the damage it produces is really strong in the moment when you use it. And if you use it on a DPS who isn't ready with their cooldowns, or if you use it on a DPS and they get crowd controlled right after that, or if you use it just at the wrong moment in a fight and everybody has to like run away from a mechanic, then you're gonna really notice the difference in the damage. You're really gonna notice it. So I think this is a great way to design this, where the onus is on me as the player to really nail when I throw that sword out. If I throw that sword out at the right time, it's gonna be great. If I don't, it's really not gonna be great. It's gonna be okay at best. Here's a sacred weapon. Damage is like a regular amount of damage that it's doing, okay? Actually, sorry, that's the healing it did. I'm sorry. It also does healing. Again, when you pop wings, which is why you should have 1 minute wings with Avenging Crusader. When you pop wings, any healing that you do, your super sacred weapon that you summon when you pop wings, he's going to copy your healing as well. Look at the healing he did. It's actually amazing. The coolest part about that is that if you take Avenging Crusader, whenever you press Crusader Strike, you're doing damage and then you're doing healing. Because of that's what it does. So your super sacred weapon, he is going to copy the damage and the healing, which is really, really cool. This was a fun little sequence. How do we survive this? I kept getting yoinked, and then we were all in trouble here.
We kind of are right now.
This was just a fun little sequence.
We do that, and then we do
the shaman was like away from us. He died somewhere else, I think. I just have Divine Toll out. Dude, my damage is not unreasonable right now. This is a very normal amount of damage.
I keep getting yoinked. You seeing this?
The yoinkening.
It's the yoinkening.
There's a clip of this somewhere else. It's pretty fun. And then we end up pulling the boss
that's
here.
Phrasing. Don't
There's the boss pull.
We pulled the boss. Okay. Well, now it's actually over, right? Right?
Now we're actually dead.
Surely it's over now.
But this is a great little moment.
Now we're gonna lust.
Now we're gonna lust.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's a great idea. I feel great about this. We got melee wings back. We're good.
Yeah, it was actually looking pretty bad. But look at this. When you get wings out, you get that sword.
I haven't been throwing out my things.
I actually also realized I haven't been using the actual weapons that I have on my bar. So up until this point, I have not even been using them.
My swords.
I've just been getting them passively.
None of my buffs. Oh my god, I've just been getting random procs.
which is cool. It's cool to see like how good that is. When you press wings, you get a guaranteed sword. When you press all of your abilities, if you took the talent that I did, there's a chance you'll just summon a sword or a shield randomly. And then you actually also have the two, abilities, the two charges of the armaments themselves. So like there is an enormous amount of buffs that you can have out at any given time. And if you see here, I have you can actually stack them as well. I have 24 seconds on my sacred weapon. They only usually last for 15, I believe. So if you get another random proc on the same person that already has a sword, it'll just increase the duration, which is really great. So you can see the result of that. Is that an overwhelming amount of damage on this fight? No, it's not. It's really not actually, but it does result in a lot of extra healing as well, which is good. So this just feels really powerful to me, where you have all this passive healing and shielding going on, whether you get it passively from your abilities, whether you proc it from pressing Avenging Wrath or Avenging Crusader, or whether you actually press the buttons themselves. The best, look at my damage here. This is it, right? Again, my mage, look at all the swords I have out right now. I have a sword and a shield on myself. I have a shield on the tank. I have a sword on the mage. Like, you just get them out all the time. It's so cool, and it results in a disgusting amount of damage here. Watch the missiles come in. When the missiles come in, it goes pew, 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 pew. The damage goes crazy here. Boom, boom, boom. There's the missiles again. Like, it's just wild how much damage you can get. But I don't think it's broken at all. I actually think this is perfectly fine. Blizzard, please just leave it the way it is. Because honestly, it feels good. There are moments when you're rewarded for pressing your buttons like at the right time and doing, and you're going to get a lot of damage from that. But the rest of the time, it's fairly normal. It's kind of I was going to say innocuous. It's not that it doesn't do nothing. It does a normal amount of damage for what a healer could expect. But when you really get those moments where you put your armaments on the right people, you are seriously rewarded. And I love that. I think that's really great. There's lots of other healers in the game right now who can match the same amount of damage that this paladin can do. And once we look at the overall numbers, you'll see what I mean. But you have these wonderful moments that you can start creating as a holy pally. And I think that is good. I think it potentially is a little bit bugged for the prop paladin. He's doing like way too much damage. He's doing like 2.6 million damage on this bull. That's probably too much, right? I think that they're gonna have to work on that for the prop paladin to really shore up kind of that damage, because that's a little bit too much. Although again, he isn't doing very much damage right now. Right, he's only doing 140,000 on the boss. Yeah, he did 2.6 million a minute ago. Maybe he just lined it up perfectly, and he had a sword on himself and a sword on the mage, and the mage was also popping off with a big like arcane surge into Touch of the Magi, into missiles, 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 and it's just like proccing damage, right? So I don't know. I feel like it's actually fair. I feel like for the Holy Pally's perspective in particular, this is a fair amount of damage that I'm doing. If you look at other healers, I promise you this is actually fair. There's really crazy moments where you can pop off, but the rest of the time, it's actually fairly normal. It's a fairly normal amount of damage, and I think that's great. I think that's really good. It combos really well with your beacons as well. When we talk about healing for Lightsmith, the combos in terms of Beacon of Virtue is really, really good, but you get shielding on people, and then when you press wings, that extra sword that pops out, the amount of healing that he does is really crazy, right? Because you have Beacon of Virtue on everybody, and then you press Avenging Crusader, you press Crusader Strike, that does damage, and then your sacred weapon, your super sacred weapon, he copies the damage, and then it heals everybody, and he copies the healing, and then all that healing goes into your beacons. So it's like triples down on the amount of healing that you can provide. Here's another moment here where our damage just goes crazy. Look at the numbers. Boom, boom, boom.
I keep getting silenced.
I end up dying. Okay, the numbers were cool. I did get turbo silence. That was a problem. Do we do it again here?
What is all this crazy damage I keep
Yeah, there's all the damage that's popping out right there. I got feared. We're doing 800k. There's a million damage per second. 1.3 million.
right now? Look at my screen.
I have done this on other healers. Again, this is not something you can do every 2 seconds. I've done this on other healers. So I just want to, I don't know. I'm talking to Blizzard right now. Please, Blizzard, don't nerf this. But there you go. This is what it can look like. I know it looks a little bit silly, but again, if you do it correctly, you're rewarded for what you did. That's the best kind of gameplay. It's like, I used my sacred weapons correctly and I was rewarded. That's good. That shouldn't be nerfed, right? We need to be really careful about that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to show you guys that. Let's look at the overall numbers. I can get to the end of the key here. That's that boss dead. We'll try and kill this boss. I don't know how quickly. Probably took us a couple tries. This dungeon is going to murder everybody, I'm telling you right now. So that was my damage overall with the sacred weapons. Again, it looks silly. I understand that, but that's just me having played fairly well. Not perfectly, of course, but I did a decent job of sending my weapons to the right people at the right time when they had cooldowns, and I got rewarded for it. That's what it should be like, right? That's exactly what it should be like. I think like that's one of those things where you should be rewarded for playing really well. That's that's him. Let me try and find my healing.
It was kind of really cool.
Did I look at it early on?
That was cool.
I haven't done the boss yet, right? Yeah. Let me try and find it here really quick. I just think if you're rewarded for playing well, then the game is in a good place. If you don't get rewarded for playing well, then that's just not fun at all, of course. But if you just get randomly OP, I don't think that's as good. It's not as rewarding to just be randomly kind of overpowered. What you really do want is to be able to say, okay, I see what's going on. I see he has his cooldown. I'm going to press this, give him a sword. I'm going to give myself a sword. I'm going to pop my wings. I'm going to do extra damage and extra healing. That's going to propagate to the rest of my team because of my super sacred weapon. And then over the top, he's got, you know, missiles coming in, and those are doing extra damage. And I'm benefiting from that because I line this all up at the right time. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it can look really, really good like that. And I'm happy about that. These are my overall damage numbers. Like, my overall damage wasn't even that crazy. 150k overall is not that crazy at all, guys. It's really not, okay? We're at 580 item level. So this is not that crazy. I promise you. You could have other healers doing more damage. So I think it's reasonable. Here's the healing breakdown. Avenging Crusader. This is your melee wings. And then Holy Bulwark. Those are the shields you're getting from Lightsmith. They're so good. They're so strong. Holy Shock, Word of Glory, Beacon of Light. That's Beacon of Virtue. So that's me putting it on everybody. And then Greater Judgment. Veneration is my healing from Hammer of Wrath. And then here's my Sacred Weapon. The super weapon that I spawn when I press wings. He did a bunch of healing as well. There you go. Like, that's what it looks like on an overall key. And I think that's reasonable. I think it's reasonable. To me right now, if you're asking me, if you like want to know exactly what's going on with Holy Paladin in terms of the hero town trees, what's the best one to pick? I think Lightsmith is head and shoulders above Herald of the Sun right now. They kind of nerfed Herald of the Sun. Herald of the Sun has a really cool like playstyle in terms of getting a bunch of hots on people, and those hots go into your beacons, and like it's a lot of healing over time where you're gradually getting people up. Lightsmith is more like there's these moments of absolute destruction, and you can absolutely heal your team up. I just smoked my mic. You can really heal your team up as well with the extra shielding. And if you're just popping kind of all your cooldowns at the same time, letting them work together, they will reward you. And I think that that, to me, is the best type of gameplay that you can possibly have, especially for healers. If I do my stuff correctly, I get super rewarded and it feels amazing. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about Lightsmith Holy Paladin. Are you thinking of playing it? I know a lot of people are dooming on Holy Paladin, as they always do, but I promise you, it's actually good. It's actually good. I had so many moments where I was doing lots of damage, and then more importantly, I had a whole bunch of moments where I was like, ooh, I think everybody's gonna die here. I'm gonna get my cooldowns rolling, and then it was just like everybody was perfectly fine. It was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This feels really good. I just saved that guy. Blessing of Sacrifice over there. I'm gonna lay on hands that guy. I'm gonna pop my melee wings, and then I'm just gonna pop my Beacon of Virtue, and I'm just slapping these mobs. I'm doing lots of damage, and I'm just giga healing everybody. Like, it felt super good. I felt like that melee Holy Crusader kind of like it felt right. You know what I'm saying? It felt right. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much again for watching. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one.